Hello, I'm Lauren Rutgerson, and this is my video presentation on this week's assignment 3. We covered chapter 17 in American Yawp, which was titled Conquering the West, and was basically about how America goes west. It was a really fascinating time in American history after the Civil War. There was a lot of unrest and a lot of people trying to find a place for themselves. People that were already here and people who were immigrating here, and people who had immigrated here and were working on the railroads. The expansion of the West came with the expansion of the American rail lines, spread of information and immigrants across the nation, and people just trying to find their way to the American dream. After the Civil War, there was a lot of promise in the gold rush. That was one of the big catalysts. People went for the California gold rush and went to try to strike it rich out in the California mountains. Another promise out in the West was the promise of land with the Homestead Act. People were promised 160 acres that they could carve out to call their own, to farm and, create a life. Many people who moved out west went so in riches, but some just went for religious freedom. Some of those were the Mormons. Mormons were making their way west to try to find a place where they could live their lives the way that they felt was best, based off of their religion. This was a purely American religion. This was not something that was present anywhere else in the world. It was an offshoot of Christianity, and they had a lot of different beliefs that, were not respected by religions like the Catholics or the Protestants. So they went out there to, find their way. As with everything in United States history, there seems to have been some winners and a lot of losers, and those who lost a lot. One of the populations that lost most was the Native American population. We heard from several different chief leaders in this chapter detailing different massacres and atrocities that they witnessed happening. The Native Americans were already on the run, trying to, find space for themselves still, with all of these settlers coming and settling the United States territories. With the push west, it kind of ended the last, place where they could go and live out their lives. With the push west, there was also the decimation of the bison population, which was a vital food source for the Native Americans. They were slaughtered. Native Americans thought that the bison were so numerous that there was no end to how many that there were. They thought that they would be able to, live the rest of their lives and never see an end to this food source that they've, relied so heavily upon. One of the things that I mentioned in my summary, and that I noticed in this chapter from the book, was a picture of the bison skulls that were all stacked on top of each other. They were used as fertilizer for many of these farms that the settlers were, setting up. And the pile of bison skulls is it's shocking. And that's not even all that was slaughtered, but just even that image and seeing it was just it was sad. Not to laugh, but it was sad. With the end of that food source for the Native Americans and the loss of land and territory, they were just shuffled from place to place, having no place to call their own for any, extended period of time, no way to set up, community or to start a life. They were promised education and all of these different, American rights, and they were denied really most of them. Even the education that they received didn't seem truly beneficial to them as a population. We read an article by Kellogg, who discusses how there is a lot of importance in the Native Americans in being educated by their elders and remembering their previous way of life and their fundamental beliefs, and how that has a lot of significant value to them, and it was being erased at the time. So really great chapter, informative chapter. They also discuss the cowboys and the establishment of the cowboy population out there herding, cattle and settling the West. And there was a lot of promise in that as well, but also it fell short. Many of their stories turned into kind of like tall tales and penny novels that were spread around, furthering the almost illusion of the dream of settling the West, showing what adventure there was out there for people to find if they were brave enough to go and seek it out. So lots of people settling the West, lots of people losing their place, while others find theirs, and a lot of injustices, but a lot of growth and progress, which brought us to the America that we know today. Thank you.